He read the message, stared at his phone for 3 seconds, and by morning, his entire life was gone. What he saw in that single line of text is a secret he would take to his grave. In a world connected by screens, a single notification can change everything. Today, we're counting down 10 messages that arrived without warning and shattered lives in an instant. Each story is a reminder of how fragile our reality is. And the last one, number 1, is the most disturbing of them all. Stay with us as we uncover the words that broke worlds. Number 10, the job offer. For months, a young architect named Liam had poured his heart into landing his dream job at a prestigious firm. He'd survived rounds of interviews, sleepless nights perfecting his portfolio, and the crushing anxiety of waiting. One evening, his phone lit up. It was an email. The subject line read, "Your future with us." He opened it, his hands shaking. The message congratulated him on his new senior position, complete with a starting salary that would change his family's life. He called his wife, tears in his eyes, celebrating the end of their struggles. They spent the evening planning their future, looking at new homes, and dreaming of the stability they had finally earned. The next morning, a second email arrived from the same sender. The subject, urgent correction. The first email, it explained, was a template sent by mistake. The position had been given to another candidate. In a single moment, the future they had celebrated was erased, replaced by an empty silence and the cold glow of a screen. But as devastating as a false promise is, it's nothing compared to a message that confirms your worst fear. Number 9. The inheritance. An elderly woman, Sarah, lived a quiet, modest life. Her only family was a distant, wealthy brother she hadn't seen in decades. After he passed away, his lawyer contacted her. She was the sole heir to his entire estate, a fortune beyond her wildest imagination. The message confirmed millions would be transferred to her name. For the first time, she felt a sense of security. She dreamed of helping her community, of traveling, of living without the constant worrying of bills. She spent weeks making plans, feeling the weight of a lifetime of financial struggle lift from her shoulders. Then, a second message arrived from the lawyer, a single sentence. It explained that a more recent will had been discovered. Everything was left to a charity. The fortune she had briefly held in her mind vanished, leaving her in the same quiet room, with the same old worries, but now with the added weight of a dream that had been given and then stolen away in an instant. The silence in her small apartment felt heavier than ever before. But a lost fortune is one thing. What happens when the message isn't about money, but about a person you love? Number 8. The old friend. David was happily married. One afternoon, he received a message from a number he didn't recognize. It was from a woman he'd dated briefly in college, nearly 15 years ago. She said she was in town and just wanted to say hello, for old time's sake, innocent enough. His wife saw the message over his shoulder and, trusting him completely, encouraged him to catch up. He replied, agreeing to a quick coffee, but as the conversation continued, the tone shifted. Her messages became strangely detailed, referencing private jokes and moments he'd long forgotten. The final message arrived late that night. It was a photo. A picture of a teenage boy who looked exactly like him, followed by the words, "I thought you should know." He's been asking about his father. David stared at his phone, the room spinning. The life he had built, the trust he shared with his wife, all of it now balanced on a secret he never knew he had. The stability he cherished was fractured, not by an affair, but by a ghost from a past he thought was buried. And yet, this life-altering secret is still not as chilling as the next message. Number 7. The security alert. A family was on vacation, thousands of miles from home. They were enjoying a perfect day on the beach, and the father's phone buzzed with a notification from their home security system. Motion detected in living room. He dismissed it at first, thinking it was probably the cat. Then another alert came, and another. He opened the app to watch the live feed. The camera showed a dark, empty living room. Nothing seemed out of place. He was about to close the app, annoyed at the false alarm, when he saw it. For just a split second, a figure moved in the shadows at the edge of the frame. He rewound the footage, his heart pounding. There it was again. Someone was in their house. He watched, frozen, as the figure walked slowly toward the camera before the feed suddenly cut to black. The message that followed wasn't from the security app. It was a text from an unknown number. We know you're watching. The feeling of safety, even on a sunny beach, was gone. Their home, their private sanctuary, was no longer theirs. The fear that followed them home was worse than any stolen object. But what's even more terrifying is when the threat isn't from a stranger, but from someone you trust completely. Number 5. The DNA result. Maria had always felt a little out of place in her family. She didn't look like her parents or her siblings. They laughed it off as a quirk of genetics. For her 30th birthday, she took a DNA test, mostly for fun, curious about her ancestry. A few weeks later, an email arrived. Your DNA results are in. She logged in. Excited, she scrolled past the ancestry charts to the section on DNA relatives. At the top of the list, under immediate family, she didn't see her mother or father. She saw a stranger's name, listed as a 100% match for parent. Confused, she clicked on the profile. The person lived in the next town over. A quick search revealed it was a nurse who worked at the hospital where she was born. The truth hit her like a physical blow. The family she had known her entire life, the people she loved, were not her biological relatives. She had been switched at birth. Her entire identity, her history, her sense of self, all of it was a lie, revealed by a single line of text on a website. The foundation of her world had crumbled, but as shocking as this is, the stories only get darker from here. Number 4. The last goodbye. A young soldier, deployed overseas, cherished the daily video calls with his wife. It was his lifeline, his connection to the world he was fighting to return to. One night, during a call, the connection was poor. The video was frozen, but he could still hear her. He told her he loved her, that he missed her more than words could say. She replied, her voice faint and breaking up, I love you too, I'm so sore. The line went dead. He assumed it was just the bad connection. He sent her a quick message. Lost you. Call me back when you can. He waited. Minutes turned into hours. No reply. He tried calling, but it went straight to voicemail. A deep sense of unease settled over him. The next morning, his commanding officer pulled him aside. There had been an accident back home. His wife was gone. That broken, final sentence from their call echoed in his mind. I'm so sorry. He never found out what she was sorry for. Was it for the call cutting out, or was it a final, desperate goodbye? The unanswered question would haunt him forever, a message left permanently unfinished. Number 3. The anonymous confession. A detective, haunted by a cold case for over a decade, had dedicated his life to finding justice for a missing child. The case had ruined his marriage and left him a shell of the man he once was. All leads had dried up years ago. The file sat on his desk, a constant reminder of his failure. One rainy night, as he sat alone in his office, he received an anonymous email. The subject line was just the child's name. The body of the email contained a single sentence, a set of GPS coordinates. With a surge of adrenaline he hadn't felt in years, he entered the coordinates into a map. It led to a remote, wooded area just outside of town. He drove there, his heart pounding with a mix of hope and dread. He followed the coordinates to a desolate spot, marked by a pile of stones. He began to dig. He didn't find what he expected. Instead of a body, he found a small, weathered box. Inside was a single, faded photograph of the missing child, alive and well, playing on a beach, years after she had supposedly vanished. On the back of the photo was a message, "We gave her the life you never could. Don't look for us." Justice was not served. The case was not closed. It was stolen from him, leaving him with an impossible choice and the crushing knowledge that the truth was worse than anything he could have imagined. Number 2. The final text. A teenager was in her room, listening to music, when her mom sent her a text from downstairs. Can you come help me with the groceries? A note yet being interrupted, she ignored it. A few minutes later, another text. Please? The bags are heavy. She rolled her eyes and texted back a sharp, angry reply. I'm busy. Do it yourself. A moment of silence followed. Then, she heard a loud crash from the kitchen. She ran downstairs to find her mother collapsed on the floor, groceries scattered around her, having suffered a massive heart attack. The paramedics couldn't revive her. The last words her mother ever read from her were words of anger and dismissal. That final, selfish message would replay in her mind for the rest of her life, a permanent scar left by a moment of teenage frustration. Her final conversation with her mother wasn't "I love you," but an exclamation of annoyance. And now, for the message that is more chilling than any other. The one we teased at the very beginning. Number 1. To glitch in the system, a man named Alex was at work when he received a strange text message from his wife. It was a picture of their 6-year-old daughter sleeping peacefully in her bed. He smiled, but then looked closer. The photo was time-stamped from that morning. It was now late afternoon. He texted back, "Cute pic. Why send it now?" A minute later, his phone rang. It was his wife, her voice frantic, hysterical. "Where is she?" she screamed. "They said you picked her up from school." Alex felt the blood drain from his face. He hadn't picked her up. He was still at the office. His wife sobbed that the school had called, saying a man who looked just like him had shown up, knew their daughter's name, and even knew their family's private password. Then, Alex looked at his phone again. Another message had arrived from his wife's number. It wasn't from her. It read, "Don't worry. She's sleeping peacefully." Just like in the picture, he read the message, stared at his phone for 3 seconds. And by morning, his entire life was gone. He had not just received a threat. He had received proof that someone had access to his life, his phone, his family, and had used that intimacy to shatter his world. The photo wasn't a memory, it was a promise. In an instant, a life can be redirected, a heart can be broken, and a future can be erased. All it takes is a handful of words delivered to a screen. Which of these messages shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments. If stories like this make you think twice before you hit send, consider subscribing for more content that explores the deeper side of our modern world. Thanks for watching.